going to hear the first story in our collection of surprising stories. It's all about two sisters called Mary and Martha. They were friends of Jesus, and he often came to visit them. We don't know very much about their family, but we have imagined that they have a niece, and we've called her Becky. Today we'll find out what happened when Becky visited her two aunts on the same day that Jesus came for tea. So let's open the book and read Tea at Auntie's House.
Hurry, it's nearly time to go,
said Becky.
No school today, so I'm off to tea with Aunt Mary and Aunt Martha.
Becky loved to visit her two aunts. They lived just a few streets away in the town of Bethany. Becky's Uncle Lazarus.
Bye, Mum,
shouted Becky.
See you later.
Becky ran off down the road. The sun was still bright in the sky, and she felt its warmth on her face, lovely and bright and warm. Becky sniffed the air as she reached the door of her aunt's house. She said to herself,
Freshly baked cakes. Aunt Martha makes the best cakes in the world. I hope she's made my favourites.
She rushed through the door, straight into the kitchen.
Aunt Martha, have you made me some honey and date slices?
Oh, hello, my lovely,
cried Aunt Martha as she wiped her wet hands.
Yes, of course I have. Come and give me a big hug.
Becky gave her aunt a big hug. Martha was hot from baking, lovely and soft and warm.
Now off you go and see what Aunt Mary is doing. She's supposed to be helping me. She knows there's a lot to do.
Becky knew at once she'd better do as she was told. She loved Aunt Martha, but she knew how grumpy she could get, especially when they had visitors. In the next room, Becky could hear a man's voice, and she went in and saw Aunt Mary sitting with her friends and neighbours, listening to the man talking.
I love coming here,
thought Becky.
It's such a happy house.
Becky,
called Aunt Mary.
Come and sit by me. This is our friend Jesus. Come and hear what he has to tell us.
Becky squeezed between the guests. It was a bit squashed in that small house with all those visitors. Aunt Mary held out her arms.
That's it. Just sit by me.
Becky was a bit disappointed that she wasn't going to hear any of Aunt Mary's stories, but she sat down by her anyway. It was lovely here, lovely and cozy and warm. Becky listened to Jesus. He was telling stories and teaching everyone about God. Becky was so surprised. She thought Aunt Mary was the best storyteller. But the things Jesus was saying were so wonderful, she decided that he was the best storyteller ever.
Everyone should listen to Jesus,
she thought.
It makes me feel so good, lovely and happy and warm. Oh no,
thought Becky.
Aunt Martha's thrown a wobbly in the kitchen.
Sure enough, just as Becky and the others were getting really interested in what Jesus was telling them, Aunt Martha burst into the room, looking hot and flustered.
Jesus, why don't you tell Mary to come and help me in the kitchen instead of sitting here listening to you? I could do with some help, you know.
Becky wondered what would happen now. She loved Aunt Martha, even though she sometimes got cross, but Jesus knew exactly what to say.
Martha,
he said,
don't be angry with Mary. This is where she should be. She's hearing about the love of God. Come and sit down with us. We'll sort the food out later.
Becky moved up a bit and patted the space next to her.
There's room for you here, Aunt Martha.
Aunt Martha gave a big sigh. Jesus was right. The food could wait. She wanted to sit with Jesus too. She squeezed past the other guests and sat down beside Becky.
This is great,
thought Becky as she sat between the two favourite aunts listening to Jesus.
This has to be the best thing to do.
Poor Martha had such a lot of work to do, and nobody seemed to be helping her. You might have expected Jesus to ask Mary to go and help, but he didn't, did he? Instead, he asked Martha to stop working for a while and come and sit down with the others. I wonder why he did that. So let's close our eyes and think about the story. There are so many things to keep adults busy at home: cooking, washing, gardening, and children can be busy too, doing homework, playing on the computer, watching television. Sometimes it's important to stop doing those things and make time for sharing and talking together about the really important things in life. So think now about what things are really important to you. Now I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, in our families, help us to make time for each other, time to think, and time to talk about the things that are really important. Amen.